What's up, everybody? Kevin Kuhn here from the Athlete Factors podcast. I'm here with my good friend Jace Jackson. What's up, Jace?
What up?
This is episode number 13, lucky number 13. So, how you feeling today? You awake?
I'm awake. I'm awake now. Absolutely.
Nice. So, Jace, instead of telling the vast audience of watchers/listeners what you do, right? I don't want to tell them. I want you to break through the barrier and explain to them what it is you do.
That's a loaded question. What it is I do professionally. Currently, I'm a firefighter.
Nice.
I'm also a student. So I kind of do a lot of stuff. Firefighter is generally thought of as suppression, but the department I work for also runs EMS, which means you run a ton of medical and a bunch of other stuff that won't necessarily encompass a emergency. So people have a problem, they call us and we show up and we try to handle it. So
Nice.
kind of like problem solvers, I would say that's what I do for the most part.
Problem solving. So the reason you're awake right now is because you just finished a shift of sorts, would you say?
Yes, I just got off a 48-hour shift, and I was fortunate enough to sleep between the hours of 10 p.m. and midnight.
Nice.
And that was about it. Got off shift about 7, came home, slept for 3-4 hours, and woke up and stayed awake to do this because I go to work again tomorrow for another 24-hour shift.
Sweet.
Priorities. Absolutely, priorities.
Somebody has to, right?
Might as well be me.
Why not you? Why not you? So, you and I met back at grad school at Baylor.
Go Bears.
And that's right, Sick'em Bears. And I think you were probably the strongest of our. It was a small group, so it doesn't mean anything.
The strongest.
Yeah. I won't say the strongest runner.
Absolutely.
But you know, short arms gives you a biomechanical advantage under the bench. So
it does. They call it the T-Rex advantage. It's the most important and applicable lift there is. So who needs to run when you can bench press, right?
It's true. You can run on your hands if you're strong enough.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So the reason I wanted to have this conversation with you is because you not only have that, let's call it academic background, as far as studying a little bit of biochemistry, studying human physiology, studying performance. So you've got that, but then you're doing this essentially this first responder role where you're a firefighter, you do EMS, that sort of thing. So just having some conversations with you when you were going through firefighting school, I was like, holy cow, there's so much about this that I had no idea. And it's all performance-based stuff, right? So I think there's a lot of people who would get a kick out of hearing not only some of the stories that you told me, but also just getting a performance perspective into the realm of first responders. So
okay. Any particular area you want to start off with? Training?
So yeah, let's talk about training. So what do you do, or let's put it this way. Did you think that the way you were training before you got into the profession of firefighting or even firefighting school, did the way that you trained beforehand match the way that you currently train?
100% hell no.
How did they differ?
Not even close. I had, what we've been taught, what we've gone through, you do all your assessments, you do your needs assessments, your adaptations, what you want your end state to be, you do your current baseline testing, and okay, I'm at X and I need to get to Y in X amount of time, so you do all that stuff out, you do your conditioning, you go through standard work to rest ratios, and try to get your maxes up. Like, oh, this is going to be great. And then you show up on day one and they literally hand you your backside and say, oh, you're in shape? Nope. So
Wow.
I think I started the academy at 205, and about 5.5, 6 months later, I graduated at 165. And then
So they took you through a cutting phase, is what you're saying?
I think they took me, what was it? I would say probably muscle wasting, and it's like, hey, we're going to lift weights today, but after everything we've done for the day, it was kind of just, what's the point? Recovery was just a thought. It never really happened. I mean, you're working 8 to 5, Monday through Thursday for the most part, but
yeah,
training is definitely 100% different. I went in. I used to my current or my past state was power, so I want to be as strong as I can be, and now I'm currently sort of what's sustainable. I mean, you need repeated measures, variations that could be tested. Your cardiovascular is important. Your strength is important, but you got to be both. Because we've got guys in the department that are massive. Guys used to be D1 football players that can eclipse the doorway, and guys that you can fit in your pocket. So, and most of those guys, as normal people, you gravitate towards how you train. So if you're strong, you train for strength. If you're small and you run, you train for that. So actually, I hate running, but having the job that I have, I have to force myself and to try and be the best of both components. So maintain as much strength as possible while being in the condition. Because you think, like an athlete, pick your sport. The big time is when you have your game or your track meet. Well, ours is a structure fire. So we have, I'm standing here. If I go on a truck when a structure fire drops, we put on boots, pants, a coat, a hood, gloves. We got a helmet. We got a face piece. We got an air pack. We may be carrying tools. We may be 80 some pounds of hose we drag for X amount of feet. So essentially, I'm about 190 pounds now. I go from 190 pounds to 250 pounds in less than a minute.
Wow.
And then that's the physical load you put on, and that doesn't even address your cardiovascular load, what your heart rate's doing, what your mind's doing, all the hormones that are going. And then when you clip in, you're breathing air. The air we have is compressed air, and it's dry. So not only are all your metabolic processes that use water dehydrating you throughout your performance, but the air you're breathing is additionally actively dehydrating you. So basically, before you even begin productive work, your performance is already starting to get cut at the feet. So
wow, that's insane. Yeah. So that was a couple of the things that really shocked me when you were telling me about firefighting school. And one that really caught me off guard was how much time you had on a tank.
Yeah.
Right. So like I don't know where I had heard this from or if I just kind of made it up in my own mind, but I assumed or I thought that like you got maybe 20 minutes on a tank, something like that. So, and then you kind of told me like, well, no. But then it also depends on how much you're moving, how fast you're moving, how much your heart rate's going, your respiration rate. So what's going on with that, man?
Well, it used to be on what they call a 30-minute bottle. But, NFPA standards, National Fire standards have changed, and it's increased it to 45 minutes. So that means the cylinder, which our air is compressed into, has gotten larger, so it holds more air. And 45 minutes is rated basically if you're supine, not doing anything in a dark room, resting, breathing normally, you should have essentially 45 minutes.
Gotcha.
But, we've got some guys that might get 20 minutes out of that bottle. Depending on what you're doing, you may get less. You may get 30. So your liters per minute that you breathe, we have air consumption drills that we can run. But that can change. You could have a really, really efficient liter per minute rate, but you've been sick or you got hurt. So your cardiovascular training has a increased decrement as far as when you have time off.
Hmm.
So that could affect it. So you could be used to hitting high, and all of a sudden, whatever happens, you're a lot lower. So, or another caveat, you could have all the air in the world, but if you're in a bad situation and another guy is low on his, there's attachments that you can clip in and they can breathe off your bottle. So
Hmm.
now, hey, I got 20 minutes left, but now I've got to help this guy out.
Hmm.
And so my 20 minutes went to maybe 10,
Hmm.
which is never a good thing.
So how do you track how much time you have? And it's never an exact, right? You've got to
Well,
guess or estimate
uh,
a lot of this.
yes and no. Our department's putting some money on some technology, and technology as a whole in the profession is increased. So with our new air packs, we have Bluetooth connectivity.
Wow.
So the guy that runs our scenes, we have RFI chips that we scan in. So not only is my air pack connected to my radio, so if something happens to my air pack, they know which radio it is and they can hit me directly on mine.
Hmm.
But the guy who's running our scene can also pull up a screen and see the current status of all the air packs. So I can look and say, because you're not sitting there, because sometimes you can't see, but even
Hmm.
you can see, you're not there constantly checking your air.
Hmm.
If it starts going down, there's alarms that start sounding. But if you're in there with 5, 6, 7 guys, you hear a loud sound, you don't know if it's yours or not. So
Hmm.
they can monitor if it's yours. Um, so because you don't sit there and constantly look at your air while you're working, you do your
Right.
task, finish your task, you get reassigned. If you're not able to finish it because your air or whatever else, you leave and go back in. But
Hmm.
so they have guys outside of that, not in the dangerous areas that monitor our air. So that helps
Nice.
out a ton. But
Hmm. That's nice. You that kind of frees you up to not have to worry so much about yourself. Somebody else is
yeah,
responsible for that. You can just
yeah.
key in on your job and do that. That's cool.
Yeah, because you're not going to be effective. It's like just like regular athletics. If you're forming up to make a tackle and you're worried about getting hit and getting hurt, you're going to get steamrolled. If
Hmm.
you're on your quarter mile and you're going to the last turn, and you're thinking, man, I got to hurry up, and you start reaching with your feet, you start reaching out instead of
Hmm.
driving your knees up, you're going to blow a hamstring. So
Yep.
when you start thinking about what you're doing, that's usually when bad stuff happens.
Hmm.
That's why you train, train, train. The same with fire department. We train, and so when something happens, we're not thinking. We just fall back to our level of training. So
Gotcha.
that's an important part that we have that too. So yeah, we don't need nor should we be thinking about, well, do I have enough air left? Now we monitor it because once
Hmm.
it hits a certain level and gives you a certain ring, it's like, hey, you need to pass out of the area and make sure you're not in any danger. But other than that, you should be all right.
Gotcha. So, what's your current training like? Do you have some sort of like set scheduled, periodized program, or is it just kind of like when you can get it in, you get it in, and
Man, I remember way in grad school when we did that Charlie Garrett's that assignment, and I was kind of thinking about started doing training for the first responders and like, how are you going to peak these guys? You
Mhm.
don't have a preseason, you don't have an off season, you don't have a tournament season, you don't have a testing. It's like, what do you do? And his suggestion, which for a while I kind of used, was you just got to treat us every day, and whatever happens, happens.
Mhm.
Now I've kind of done it to where some guys they only work out when they're on shift. Myself, I'll get up at 3, get to the gym at 4, and get my training done before shift because I'm OCD. I don't want to stop my workout in the middle of something, which is incredibly likely. Uh, I also did early on when I first got on. I was rookie, paying my dues. I did the workouts with the guys, and it was June, middle of summer, and I'm sweating. I'm out of breath, and the structure fire drops. So
Mhm.
not only am I fatigued, I've got to race out to the truck, throwing all my crap, and just go through what I just explained.
Yep.
Luckily, we got canceled, and it wasn't that big of a deal. It was kind of a false alarm thing. But when that happened, I was like, no more. I'm never going to do it because I was like, I'm going to breathe my bottle before I even get in the house, and
Yep.
this is how I'm going to die because I'm just going to run out of air and cramp up and just be
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Um, so now, normally I try to do, like I said, I'm more towards trying to sustainability. So I've got a device. I won't see the name. but I'm looking more in heart rate variability. I'm really into that a lot. What I use now, it monitors your sleep. It says, measures your REM cycle, your slow wave cycle, SWS, which is supposed to be more cerebral regeneration and your synaptic processing, your memory processing. So I've made sleep a priority first and foremost, because normally that wasn't the case. You get sleep whenever you can. If you can't get it, I was up to 3 to 4 boluses of caffeine at 300 milligrams a pop. So I was at 1,200 milligrams of caffeine a day. You can't sit there and if a call drops, like, you know what, I'm not going to go on this. I need to sleep. You do your job. And then it's like, well, on your days off, most guys got families and kids and other jobs, and you can't sleep all day. So you hit the caffeine again just to maintain. You sleep when you get a chance. But I really tried to make sleep a priority and realize there's a difference between their sleep performance and sleep consistency. Like, I'm never going to sleep at the same times. Like, I may sleep my 8 hours in the middle of the day if that's where I can get it. That messes up your circadian rhythms because you're not going to sleep and waking up at the same time. But I'm still getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep a day, so it's better than not, because I was running on about 4.5, 5 hours of sleep, which isn't good, especially when you tack on the caffeine and the lack of water and all the adrenaline and everything else.
Yeah.
But so I've kind of split it into like a upper body day and a lower body day, just general. Here, since I've started the heart rate variability and trying to look at what that is, my resting heart rate, I usually, at least every shift day, so basically we work a 24 on and 48 off. So every third day, I do what I call a row, run, ruck. I row at 2K. I bump the damper all the way up to 10. I keep that under 7.5 minutes. I think I take a 2 to 3 minute recovery, get on the treadmill, run a mile, keep that under 7 minutes. And I think I take another 2 or 3 minute recovery, strap on 75 pounds of weight. And I think it's like at a 3.5, which is about 17-ish mile. And I walk for 20 minutes. Wow. I do that basically every third day. I do the road just because we can do a lot of pulling. We have the potential, so there's a lot of metabolic demand there. So if you can run a marathon, that's great. But if you can't impose that power component to it, you're not as effective. The mile, I think I like it just because I'm going to start kind of ticking that down, trying to get it under 6.5 and 6. I just like the speed. I think it's good for your body to move with those velocities. If not, you taper off as you get older, and I'm old. But their walk is just, in my opinion, is just sort of a sustained, and I use that as sort of because we don't wear our air packs all the time. Like I said, I can go 190 to 250 pounds, so that's 60 pounds. If I'm walking every third day with 75 pounds, there's a lot of acclimation to my erectors and joints and stuff like that. So when I put it on, it doesn't smash me for the next day. I've got that acclimation as sort of a constant stimuli that I try to get. And, over time, I may bump it up. I varied with the speed, but I noticed with that weight, you get a lot of heel strike, and I start having issues that I notice early on with the heel. So I keep it at a moderate pace. But and then as far as lifting wise, I focus a lot on grip. Like, I'll use fat grips. I've got those eagle claws or eagle loops. Use those a lot. I'm looking to get some of those cannonball pull-up attachments. I enjoy that a lot. I do a lot of reverse hyper bodyweight stuff, bridges, stuff like that. Because you got to be strong, but you've also got to sustain that a lot. Because on the EMS side of things, we're picking people up at odd angles. They're never perfectly centered where you can just pick them up and move them. Our equipment is heavy. You throw it on real quick if it's an urgent situation and it doesn't set nicely. If you take we have something called T-Pack. It's like a massive backpack, has a bunch of equipment in it. That can weigh 30, 40, 50 pounds depending on what's in it. So if you just sling that over your shoulder, the rotational force, it can tip you. You've got something else in your hand, another 20 pounds. So all that stuff comes into play. So I do a lot of basically erector, abdominal, and then cardiovascular. My strength, it's nowhere near it used to be at all. But I've kind of conceded to that because that's the way I was taught early on, and I loved it, and everyone loves it. You drift to what you're good at.
Yeah.
Um, I realized it wasn't benefiting me.
Mm-hmm.
I would just focus on that, and it's like when I focus on my condition, my strength drops. I get upset, so I go back to strength. I start feeling good, but then I'm 205, 210, getting winded easier, and I realize that's bad for my job. So,
keeping those in balance.
yes, that's the hard part. What you want to do versus what you need to do or should do is, something you gotta figure out early on, I hope.
Yeah, it's tough because, like, working with a lot of clients, I have to, convince them we've got to train your weaknesses. Like, it's easy to train your strengths because you like that, you enjoy that. I have to make you do the things that you're not going to do without me. Like, you're just not going to do it. But that's what causes the biggest change in your performance. That allows you to do the stuff you want to do better.
Yeah.
So, but it's just, that's what it is. It's finding that balance between the stuff that's fun, but isn't really going to do that much for you, and the stuff that's usually not too fun, but will have a huge impact.
Yeah, I think it was about 8 to 12 weeks ago, I got thrown in the back of a truck and hurt my back pretty bad. And I mean, I'd say I was basically I looked like an old guy just bent over. I couldn't stand straight up because my back was screwed up. And that's basically, I had to go to physical therapy for quite a few sessions. I did dry needling and muscle stim and horizontal traction, all that stuff. And that was basically the therapist I had. She was cool. She was a CSCS and PT. She used to be an athletic trainer. So she was making me do all this abduction stuff and said I need to get my hips strong to help my back. And I'm just like, so we had a back and forth discussion. She was cool, but it was like, I don't think that my strength was an issue. It was just a fluke. It was basically, you get whiplash in your neck. Well, that happened to my low back. So then she started testing me and realized, hey, you're not very flexible. I'm like, shut up. That's not important. So she had me do a bunch of stretches and all that other stuff, and I don't do them anymore. But, that kind of brought me back. Yeah, that kind of brought me back to, okay, I need to put in more sustained time body stabilization for abdominals. I need to do more reverse hypers. I need to do some band pull aparts and scap stuff. And I need to make sure my upper T-spine and low back area, I need to get more consistent volume in there. So that was good. But yeah, that sucked. And that injuries highlight your weakness. And, every sport, especially if you're specialized or training, I'm a rock climber. Okay, that's great, but you're probably not very strong, but you got endurance. Whatever your weak spot is, that's usually when your injury is going to happen for the most part. So I can see how discussing with individuals, no, you need to do this. Like, I don't think I do. And you're like, came to me for a reason.
Yeah, man, what do I know? What do I know?
Yeah. Okay, so we shouldn't. So curls? Okay.
It's hilarious. People are funny that way.
They are.
So what do you have a hard time like, let's put it this way. Do your coworkers come to you for advice and help when it comes to training, or are they just like, nah, I got this?
I'm in an unusual situation, but kind of everything. They like to. What I did before this, being a strength coach at the collegiate level, and then coming to this one, people find out about you when you're on the fire department. You're with those guys a third of your life, they become your family. It's inevitable they start finding stuff about you, just small talking and over time. So, they'll be like, I can't believe you're eating that. I thought you're Mr. Fitness. I'm like, whoa. I'm performance. There's a difference between performance and fitness.
That's true.
Fitness, you're going for the look. Performance, whatever. At least in my opinion. One guy gave me crap because he just laughed because I'd eat a sleeve of Ritz crackers every shift. He's like, I can't believe you're doing that. I was like, why not? But
gotta feed the machine, man.
Yeah, some do, but at the same time, I try not to be, because I've run into people throughout my life through different areas of the guys that know everything, and they give you that unsolicited advice.
Mm-hmm.
So I always try to gauge, like, do they really want to know something, or do they just want to talk about the CrossFit workout? Either one's fine, man. Hey, I'm definitely at the point in my life where pride and ego, I don't care. I do not care. Not in a negative way, but I just realize it's not important.
Yep.
And I just make it out alive. We all die. I've seen stuff. I've been through stuff. Like, if you want to do CrossFit, do CrossFit. I don't care. I'm not going to do it, but doesn't mean I'm not going to make fun of you for doing it. But it doesn't mean it's not bad. You know, if
it's
you
better
want
than nothing.
Yeah, it absolutely is. If you want to count macros and weigh your food, or you want to go on the keto diet or the whatever diet or the cannibal diet, I don't care. Just whatever.
Carnivore.
My mistake.
Cannibal diets, probably.
It's gonna evolve sooner or later. Say it won't.
Somebody's doing it somewhere.
You just don't know about it.
Somebody's probably getting some good success on it.
It's all about sustainability and what what your lifestyle is like.
Mm-hmm.
You can only work out at home with X amount of stuff, that's fine. But guys will ask me, and what do you want to know? I mean, I can get to the nitty gritty and give you way more information. And early on, I kind of got that. I'd start talking, they'd kind of be like, I just want to know if I should do like pull-ups like this or like this. First off, this isn't a pull-up, that's a chin-up. So, but they just come from different walks of life, and mostly I probably get chastised more for my history in the strength and conditioning field than, hey, help me out. And every once in a while, on a serious note, there'll be guys that are injured and say, hey, I've got this issue, and I'll walk them back and tell them some stuff, and hey, you might loosen this up, or try to find out more maybe about the position they sleep or how they drive, or what's a constant body mechanical position that they're always in that probably is a contributing factor. Mm-hmm. Try to help them out that way, but no, not really. Some come to advice, but I always say there's a difference between intelligence and education. And just because I've gone to class and read some books doesn't mean I'm any smarter than you. It just means I read those books. You can read the same books. So
it's true. Did you read a lot of books in grad school?
I can't say that yes, I did. I read a lot of books.
Yeah.
I learned better from, I'm more auditory and visual.
Mm-hmm.
I had a buddy I played football with in college. We were roommates, and he sustained, I'm going to say it was a TBI. He used to ride bulls in high school. Well, he got his head stuck on. So he has like short-term memory loss. So for him to do well in class, he had to just inundate himself, repetition over and over. So he would just read these notes over and over and over. We were the same major. So I'd sit, he'd be in the living room just reading his notes over and over. I'd be playing Madden. We'd take the same test. I'd score same grade or better. And he would get mad and want to know how. I said, bro, you're over there reading. I'm just sitting there reading the question, and I can hear your voice. That's cheating. I was like, So he tried to go in his room and shut the door and read the notes, and realized he didn't like staying in his room. So he just gave him crap like that. But if I can see it and listen to it, I can't focus. I can, but it's just difficult to just sit there and reading's boring. I would rather be active and do it than be sitting down. But
I can get through a heck of a lot of books if it's audio, like audiobooks. Like if I have to sit and read it, it's much harder.
I also like learning from the person giving it. Like, so if I'm listening to an audiobook, I can't say I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're in class and we're learning about, Will be saying something or Charlie saying something, like, whoa, what about that? And they're like, oh, that's a good question. Or, so you can get more feedback like that. And it's, in my opinion, it's a more direct, focused way of learning. Not that audiobooks aren't bad. If you learn, you learn. That's the good part. It's the fact when you quit learning or stop learning or attention to, that's the downfall, I think.
For sure. So what are some interesting stories that you'd like to share with us about things that have either happened to you or happened to those you're working with that were learning moments for you?
Oh man, there's some. I absolutely love the job I have, probably more than any other job I've ever had, for the sole reason like that. You get experiences, hardships develop bonds. So going through academies together, the military does it, it forms tight bonds. So these guys, we go through calls where you get some bad stuff, and it can be directly related to, unfortunately, we had one of the captain on our department. His wife was involved in a car wreck and died.
Mm.
And it just shook everybody. And, Ari was on our shift. We actually had to keep him away because it was in his district and he was going to respond to it. And
wow,
it just stuff you can never fathom, that you would never wish on anyone happens. And it's just like, it just gut wrenching. But then
can't prepare for it.
Do what?
There's no way you could prepare for that. Like,
well, the thing is we're so good at our jobs because, and I've been asked how to do it. If I see a patient, something's happened, like, I don't see your face. Like, I just see, all right, losing blood, stop that. You can't breathe, help him breathe. This is broken, set it back if we can do that. All this stuff, we have protocols and procedures. It's training. We just go through it.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's like somebody, or a hard part too is kids, dude, that stuff it just reaches up and slaps you. And a lot of that stuff is, it may hit you right there, but some of it you won't know until years down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Something hits and it just catches you.
Yeah.
But then you go on calls where families are just eternally grateful. You saved. I probably didn't even have 2 years on the department, and where I was stationed, we're right next to the high school, and one of the coaches there went into cardiac arrest. We flew down there. We weren't probably 2-3 minutes away.
Mm-hmm.
Got there. Basically, long story short, he's back now, but man, his family came to the station, and they were, tears, everything, love us like we're family, took picture with him. Mm-hmm. But the funny thing is his daughter said she was at a corner where we drove by to go there. She said, I always pray every time I see you guys run by lights and sirens.
Wow.
We were going to get her dad. And it's kind of one of those things like, and us is like, I don't know how many cardiac arrests I've run. Unfortunately, most people don't make it out because if you're in that state, it's generally not beneficial to life.
Mm.
But you run so many of them, and then when something happened, you realize, like, well, I didn't do anything different than I would have if the outcome had been opposite of that. But
yeah,
they just thank you, and it's like, accepting that is kind of difficult because, like, I was just doing what I've been trained to do, what I get paid to do. Like, it's not anything special to you, no offense, but at the same time, you start realizing how saving that guy's life not only impacted that family, but he was a coach in that community.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever church he went to, how it impacted all those people.
Yep.
It's always calls like that or instances like that kind of slap you in the face and bring you back, centralize, and you realize kind of what's important.
Mm-hmm.
But we do a lot of dark humor to kind of get over that stuff. It's usually in-house. We don't share a lot of that, but
for sure.
Because if you can't laugh at it, at some point, it's not a good thing. But enough of the serious stuff. But then we got some stuff that's hilarious. We got guys that'll take drugs and that'll just be out of their mind. One guy, I don't know if he was drunk or high or both, but one of the guys in our crew got too close and dude just went bam.
Oh, no way.
Right in the face. We all jumped on the guy, whatever, but this is an older guy in our crew, so we started calling him Glass Jaw and making a bunch of old jokes. And it was funny to everybody but him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But just a call like that, man, you learn, like, awareness. You trust people, but you don't trust them. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, they can be sit there, especially all the ones. Hell, I ran on one last night of came in as an OD. Lady had 4 knives, wanted to kill herself, said it repeatedly. Tried to entice the police to shoot her.
Wow.
And so by the time we got there, she was cuffed up, but she was just, sitting there all calm. But when I, heard the dispatch over the radio, you could tell her voice was a little elevated.
Mm-hmm.
So something was going on. And when they tell you to stage, it's not a good thing because they've got to make sure everything's safe. But when we staged and we saw all these cop cars flying by us, it was pretty serious. So she was sitting there all calm but I was kind of like, hey, I got to reach over her and put this on and fix this and fix this. At the same time, on your head, I'm like, she moves, I got to be able to block it. If I don't, hey, what's sharp around here? What are we going to use? Do we do something or not? But it's those are the calls. The fire calls are awesome. It's, this may be politically incorrect, but I feel like sometimes we're like paid to vandalize because if there's a fire inside, we can't get through. Bam, we're smashing doors, we're breaking windows.
Yeah, we gotta get in.
We're ripping down ceiling tile, look for extension. We're busting through walls. Mm-hmm. So it's just like a stress relief extraordinaire. It's like, hey, it's almost like you're doing demo work. To some respect, you kind of keep it to a minimum, but that's fun. And that's just EMS stuff. Fires, like going into fires, it's one of the first ones I was in. You couldn't see. It's everything you say. It's black. It's hot. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. At the same time, like, shit, I hope I don't die. But you get the first one under your belt, and it's just fun. It's just fun. You're done. You're exhausted. You're sweaty.
The endorphins. It has to be somewhat of a thrill because the emotions are so high and because there's so much risk. It's a dangerous situation, and to come out on top of that, it's got to be like.
Well, it's kind of, I don't want to say scary, but you start getting used to it. Like before, I'm still to it. When I hear certain designators on the radio, I can feel my heart jump. Like that's us, because if you have the radio on, you can hear it before the tones in the station go off. If you don't have a radio on, you're just sitting there doing whatever you're doing. All of a sudden, tones blare across the station like, oh, or you're asleep. I mean, imagine mom and dad used to walk in and flip the light on to wake you up. Well, not only do lights get flipped on, but tones blare through the station.
Wow. And
then voice comes over a loudspeaker and tells you what's going on. So depending on what kind of sleep you've been in, like if you're deep sleep, it may come up like not know where you're going.
Yeah.
But so that's the fire stuff. But then like station life is awesome. We just got a new lieutenant recently, and him and I have been going back and forth in prank wars. He said, "Oh, I like to get scared." We had fun with another guy at this. So, I hide around corners, scare him 3 to 4 times a shift. He's like,
nice.
I think we finally called it truce because we got rookies out, so we got to start focusing on them. Mm-hmm. But he had got up in the attic, and this is an old trick, and I'm a light sleeper, so it didn't really get me that bad, but he ran some tubing through the ceiling, kind of poked it through the drywall or the ceiling tile to where it just drip on me overnight. I think he maybe got 2 or 3 drips. I rolled over, I felt it hit my hand, and I heard him rustling up above me, so I just kind of let it happen. So I waited till I went to sleep, and about midnight, I think I got up and filled up 2 pitchers of water and poured one in one of his boots and another in the other of his boots. And he was lucky we didn't get any calls overnight. That was probably the only shift I was hoping he did, because he would have stepped. Those boots go 2/3 up your shin. It would have been just straight water. But because the thing about our boots, they keep water out, but they also, because they keep water out, they keep water in. So it's basically just 2 massive steins right there sitting for him. But
Das Boot.
Yes, spin it when the bubble hits.
That's hilarious. That's so amazing.
But some of that stuff, like kind of to tie in some of the training with the sleep and all the cortisol levels and stuff, you probably heard a bunch of the mental health stuff coming across. I got nominated and accepted a position with I think 12 other guys. We're sort of the mental health peer support kind of group. promoting, that kind of stuff. And you talk about it. So we've gone through some intensive training with one of the critical incident distress psychologists that's kind of in the area. And that's one of the things that they've found is linked to some of your sleep. You're not getting enough sleep, your cortisol, your norepi, your adrenaline, all those levels are off. You're not regenerating that stuff. Then you go through a traumatic experience. All that's basically like a bomb. Just shaking it up. And when it goes off, you don't know when it's going to go off. It may never go off, but you also don't know if that's repressed, what that's doing biochemically to your mind.
For sure.
And the rest of your body. So that's one of the things that kind of also brought me in, hey, like May 9th, I quit caffeine. I've had caffeine since May 9th. Quit it cold turkey. I started thinking, what's that doing to my heart? What's my stress at work doing to my heart? What's my sleep doing to my heart, to my health? Because a lot of guys in the profession don't think about it. Usually guys retire, put their 20 years on. They maybe live 10 years after that.
Wow.
Just because we go. When you stop moving, you pretty much die. But all the intrinsic risk factors that are harming us that we don't think about, because this is a blue-collar job. A lot of guys have pride. It's machismo. Like, you're tough. You show weakness, you're done. I mean, we're going to hit that button every single time.
Yeah.
And you don't want to look incompetent, inferior, weak in front of your guys. But it's one of those things that, so you don't think about it. But then all this research coming out about cancer this, cancer that. Firefighter risk of cancer is through the roof. We get throat cancer and groin cancer, just basically what we're exposed to. It leaches in our equipment and leaches in our uniforms and everything else. And if we don't do a good job of contaminating it or removing it and getting something new, especially nowadays, there aren't as many fires because everything's built safer. But everything's also built out of plastics, which has chemicals and carcinogens in them. So when it burns hotter, it's faster, and it's nastier. All that stuff adds in. So when you think of risk factors to your health, like, oh, look at me, I've got an 8-pack, I've got big biceps. Yeah, well, you're in your 20s or 30s. What are you going to look like when you're in your 50s?
Sure.
And diet at the station is notorious for not being good. Great food, but guys will fix breakfast on the weekend, so you've got eggs and bacon and biscuits and gravy and sausage, and guys drink coffee all day long. So it's caffeine's up, you're dehydrated, you're putting in heavy saturated fats and stuff in your body, you're not exercising, it's like a perfect petri dish of unhealthiness. Yeah. So if you're not mindful of it, if you're not actively trying to work against it and put up safeguards for all that stuff, it's a really toxic profession if you think. And then when you do the training is like we've kind of talked about that before. Our gear has 3 layers to it, so it's like I got an abrasion layer, a moisture level, and a thermal layer. So not only does it keep heat out, but it keeps heat in. So while you're actively dehydrated with the air you're breathing, you're also trapping in all your sweat. So your pores are opening to get rid of the sweat, and then if any of that smoke gets in, all that stuff's going back into your pores and seeping into your skin.
Wow.
Guys will be in a structure fire. Some of it call it firefighter cologne. I mean, the guys that's another reason I like to shave my head. But guys that have hair, I mean, you can smell the smoke on them 2-3 days later.
Wow.
If they haven't actively tried to get it out, even if they have, sometimes you can walk into a station and not know a single call they've run, but you can know if they run a fire or not. You open up the bay door, and it smells like smoke. So that stuff sticks in there quite a bit. But
that's crazy. That blows my mind. See, it's stuff like that. Like, not only did I not know that, but I mean, so is that something that that you had to ask to find that information, or are they is someone actively telling you this when you're in school for it, or how do you find this stuff out?
It's a little bit of both. The fire department, history-wise, it's notorious for being reactive. Hey, we're going to wait. Oh, someone died from that. We probably need to find out why and then fix it. It's not. I think it's just now starting to have a inclination towards proactive.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, we have all these numbers of cancer. What steps can we take to try to reduce it? Put in all those safeguards. The academy is just they tell you what you need to know, and then you learn a lot of that stuff when you get out. Every once in a while, we'll have different people come in and give us education on some of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like the heart rate variability and sleep and all that stuff, that's something I did personally.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of heard about it just because I'm nowhere near into the strength and conditioning performance community like I used to be.
Sure.
Sometimes it kind of upsets me, but then I realize if I got time, I do it, but I'm not necessarily up on everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to get back into that little by little, but I'm also next month, well, in a couple days, I start nursing school.
Mm-hmm.
So my plan on my days off is to be a nurse, going through nursing school, then to go to my practitioner level. But I'm looking possibly a niche area of the practitioner level is to serve some sort of health/performance recovery in the sleep aid area, in the heart rate variability training. Because, like you said, there's a lot of stuff you didn't know, but it's not because you didn't understand it, you just weren't aware of it. Right. And the guys that are aware of it, that do the job, don't know about it or they don't care about it because they don't understand it. Mm-hmm. So you've got guys that train first responders. They don't train them any differently. They just, hey, here's an emotive saying, here's a slogan, I'm clapping them in your face. Yeah. You're making you sweat, you're losing weight, your weight's going up on the bar. We're great, we're in shape. Yep. But there's no performance measures. I don't know what your heart rate's like in a fire. I don't know how you handle the stress. If you're at a busy station, you can get, anywhere from 10, 15 calls. And this, depending on your proximity to a hospital, those might be an hour and a half each call. So you're constantly up and down and up and down. And, you're in traffic. And if there's any issues at work, if there's any issues at your home life, you don't know how. The guy could just be cool as the other side of the pillow on the outside, and inside he could be just completely falling apart. Right. Just the chemicals and the stressors that's going on, and not knowing that, and you're just, hey, this is what your bench is, this is what your squat is, this is what your body fat is. Those are great in like a CEO office worker where you can. There aren't any other different type of stresses. What's a different type of stress than like an athlete, though? It's the same but different. So, you do well, extremely well at train runners because you're a runner. That doesn't mean you can't train a basketball player or a football player, but you probably do exceptionally well at runners because you were one, you know how they think. Yep. You can communicate with them better, but just like when we had to teach undergrad classes, you may know everything, but unless you can take that knowledge and make it fluid and have those people not only understand what you're telling them, but be able to apply that knowledge, you really haven't done anything. It's not going to be as effective than when Charlie taught us stuff. Look at that. We went exponentially. It improved programming, our performance, how we program for ourselves, our understanding of it. But you do that. You have Charlie teach, you've heard him say, you teach some of his undergrad classes, or some guys that kind of pick up on others. So there really aren't, that I've seen, any guys in the first responder profession that train that understand it. They either have the education but not the experience, or they have the experience but not the education. And as well as I do, anytime people start jockeying for a foothold in a realm, I'm this type of guy. I'm first used to be a strength coach versus an ATC. Now you've got physio, performance. You're blending. I got a guy I met at TU. He went to physical therapy school. He's got a performance. So he's doing performance, going to gyms, doing a lot of therapy. He's doing real well. But now he's blended over because he was also wanting to learn that strength conditioning. So normally you have your trainer and your strength coach. Now it's kind of how Charlie was leading us, is to start being that blended hybrid individual. Yep. Well, you've got that. You've got the performance and the rehab. You add nutrition to it. You add conditioning to it. But that I think one of the novel, irreplaceable parts is experience.
Hmm.
You don't have that. If you don't have that kind of understanding, even me telling you, I mean, I can tell you my gear weighs 60 pounds, and you think, okay, I kind of know what 60 pounds is, and you can come up here and I can say, all right, here, you're gonna put this on and this on. I mean, I think one of the first things I notice is firefighters walk everywhere. Well, walk everywhere because number one, emotions are contagious. So if you see guys who are there for an emergency running, that just stirs everybody up.
Hmm.
But I think two, I noticed like we've got steel shanks that run through the bottom of our boots. So if we step on anything, it doesn't shoot through our foot. Well, our boots are heavy. So you're not walking, you're basically picking your knees up and basically almost kind of high stepping with ankle weights
Mm-hmm.
every time you have that stuff on. That totally changes the mechanics of your walking,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. But it's just something you wouldn't think about. Like, oh, they got pants. You'd see the air pack. You'd be like, okay, we need to work on some of that stuff. But how are your hip flexors strong? Well, they're
Hmm.
strong, but do they have endurance? Are they
Yeah.
tight? What's that going to do with the glutes and the lumbar and the hamstrings? How often are you wearing it? Not
Mm-hmm.
enough to give you a stimulus to adapt. So if you're not training to get that stimulus to adapt, you're basically rolling the dice on injury every time you throw it on.
Wow.
But you put that stuff on, you'd be like, whoa. And like I said, it traps all that heat in.
Mm-hmm.
So you dissipate heat through your hands, your head, and your feet. Well, you got boots on, not letting any moisture in, any moisture out. Not only do you have a hood on your face, you've got a face piece on that seals your face all the way around. You're
Mm-hmm.
breathing dehydrated air. You've got a helmet that probably weighs 5, 6, 7 pounds, maybe heavier than that. I don't know. But you've got gloves on your hand that have
Mm-hmm.
several layers to them. So you're trapping in all that heat. You're working. It's something you really don't. Which in the winter it's fine. Rule number one: in the winter, don't take your coat off because as soon as you do, you freeze. But during the summer, you can't take that. I mean, we have what they call rehab stations. So if we're on a fire, they'll bring out buckets of ice water. They will take our bunker pants off. We'll put our legs or dip our arms in water just to try and
Wow.
cool us off with fans because your body it gets hot fast and you don't think about it because we do really well at focusing on the job.
Mm-hmm.
And most guys won't know. Hey, I'm kind of feeling bad. They'll drop. So
Wow.
we even do training on firefighter CPR. How you do CPR on a guy that falls down with all his bunker gear off and all his bunker gear on and his SCBA? How are you going to get him out of it?
Wow.
What do you do until you can get him out of the area? We have to
Uh-huh.
train that because it's a possibility. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the way. If you're not proactively doing stuff like that, you're going to sit in there hitting the fire with some water and look down and some guy just drops.
Mm-hmm.
What do? Well, we either wait and let him die just trying to screw around, or we train it enough that we can get him out and kind of have walked through that enough to be effective at it. But
Mm-hmm.
it's
Man.
awesome.
Yeah. So
It is
sounds
awesome.
like sounds like a super low stress job. Like it
It
sounds
is.
like you don't really do a whole lot. Like you
Taking
mostly just
applications coming up. Yeah.
so because it's so high stress and not just when you're dealing with a tricky situation like a fire or with responding to somebody who's trying to kill themselves.
Right.
Like even when it's downtime, it sounds like if you're drinking coffee all day, like your nervous system is still like redlining, not necessarily redlining, but it's elevated for sure.
Right.
Like so what do you do to decompress? What do you do to like reduce stress outside of work? Is that something that you guys cover a lot? And is that a high priority in the job? Is that something that everyone's kind of expected to do on their own, or is that
Well,
like what do you do? What do you do to bring your elevated state of the nervous system down and just rest?
man, it's multifaceted. It's not. It's kind of one of those things like you can't say, well, you don't work out when you're not on shift. You don't take care of your body, so you don't have pride in your job. Some people, they've got kids. Because they've got kids and wives, or wives work. They have to work. They work multiple jobs, or they work an additional job on ours to pay the bills and to make things work. So they may not have that opportunity. You know, if you're a millionaire and everyone runs your businesses for you, you can do whatever you want whenever you want. But if you're working paycheck to paycheck, you've got little time to do all that stuff. So they don't, to my knowledge, they haven't made it. Hey, you guys need to work on stress relief and working on that stuff outside the shift. It's basically guys show up, they work, they do their job. When the shifts change there, they leave. Some guys, there's a lot of guys that hunt and fish. They love that, and they all have their hobbies and they all do it. But whether or not they know that's why they do it, I mean, some guys, they may go out and still be drinking coffee when they fish. They may be drinking, well, maybe they will be drinking beer when they fish. So it's one thing, one dehydrating agent for another. What does that do? That still doesn't, help you recover. That's still a different added stress of alcohol. Right. Not that that's bad. It's, enjoy your life. You only got one. But at the same time, I think I may be in the minority as far as, because I sort of, I've heard the term tactical athlete, and sometimes we're referred to as athletes, but like I said, since I've stumbled on that stuff, I've tried to make all that a priority. But as far as your stress, I think it's one of those things that some of those guys might just be accustomed to, when you're hypersensitive, which I think we are, just because, hey, my heart rate's elevated. I'm training. I realize that that's a physiological response we track and we monitor. But normal guys may not. So their resting heart rate might have been in the 60s or 70s before they got on. Well, now it might be in the 70s and 80s, and it's just a stimulus they got accustomed to. So over time, they're slowly used to a higher blood pressure or a higher resting heart rate, and they don't know that because they don't have any baseline. They don't have any trend analysis to watch. Right. Some of those guys, hey, it's too hot to drink coffee. Got your beat, pre-workout, so they'll sit pre-workout. So it's just one of those things that, if you've been up doing whatever, or you need to make it through. Myself, stress relief, I've always done weightlifting and training, but a new hobby, I'd probably say it's a passion now. I picked up probably a little over 2 years ago is jiu-jitsu. I absolutely love it. Love it, love it, love it. It's learning about the body and learning how the body moves. Like, I was immediately enthralled with it because it's like, they call it, human chess. You don't think of your body moving in a certain way. When you juxtapose it with another human randomly moving their body, and those forces are against each other. Do you push? Do you pull? Do you rotate? Do you spin? So just the mental aspect of it. I love the fact that it absolutely is humbling. My first day there, my coach put me with a guy who's probably 5'6", 5'7", maybe about I'd say $165, $170. And at that time I was about 205, 210. He's like, "You're gonna roll with this guy today." I'm like, I'm about to smash this dude. I didn't know at the time I was a white belt. He was a purple belt, which it goes white, blue, purple, brown, black, and then red and coral above that. But it was one of those things like, I'm a blue belt now. He's a brown belt. But it was one of those things like, dude, he was like a bead of water on a leaf. I could not get a hold of him. I'd sit there and smash him and squeeze him as hard as I could, and before I know it, he'd duck out. I couldn't breathe. Or he'd duck out, my arm was about to pop out of socket. In like 10 seconds, I felt like I had just, I could feel my prep, my karate going, everything. I was gasping for air. And it was one of those things like, I've got to learn these ways. Like, how is this happening? He was just sitting there like he hadn't done anything. Like, you need a break? I was like, I was like, no, I don't need a break. He did the same damn thing. And it probably went 5 or 6 times like that until I was supine on my back, just belly breathing because I was so gassed. Wow. And I was like, this is awesome. But again, that brings into a different level of conditioning. And not about jiu-jitsu, but your grip strength. You white knuckle everything? Well, no. When do you squeeze? When you let go? What kind of endurance do you have of your grip strength? How flexible you are? Can you invert yourself? Can you lay on your back and roll your body out? How flexible is your lumbar spine? I realized, surprise, not very flexible. But uh, learning how the skeletons align and how you can use that. It's all about leverage and technique and mechanics. And
Mm-hmm.
once you learn that, you can kind of start piecing together game plans and flow patterns and all that stuff. I love it. It's just, I always say, if you haven't tried it, try it, because you can't judge a book by its cover. You walk in like, oh, that guy's jacked, he sucks, or oh, that guy looks like a strong little nerd, he's lethal, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
But which I enjoy that, not judging, because you come from strength and performance. The biggest guys in the room, whoa,
Yeah. Yeah.
littlest guys, yeah, skinny guys, yeah, but the guys that are all yoked, you're like, the guys know what they're doing. Here, no, even playing ground. You think, oh, it's a girl, I'll take it easy. Before you know it, what the hell? You know. So I
Got
enjoy
murked.
that. I do that for I say stress relief. I enjoy it. It's a new hobby.
Yeah.
I've done about 3 or 4 tournaments and done a weight division and absolute division, which is no weight. So I've gone against guys 300 plus pounds that smashed me. But
Yeah. I think you were telling me about a rib issue you may have
oh yeah, no, that's not a big deal. But
had.
yeah, I had tweaked it during training doing something, but dude, the big guy just set on it, and I was just like, I can't take it, and it was just it was fun. It was definitely a learning experience. I should not put myself in that position, but I love jiu-jitsu. Here's a plug for jiu-jitsu. Do it, but I think, of course, the guys at the fire station just make fun of me. They say, "Oh, you gonna go roll around with some sweaty dudes?" Maybe, I don't know.
So what?
Yeah, what if
So
I
what if
do?
I am?
You're scared of me, so what does that say? You can come if you want. Plenty of room for everyone.
So is there any sort of like uh, you doing yoga, you doing some meditation, you doing
Man, I can't. When I hurt my back, she gave me stretches to do at home,
mhm.
and I would do those, and it felt good. But I can't. I don't want to say I can't. I haven't got to the place where I'm able to accept just sitting there and being passive and stretching. Like,
Mhm.
I'll do active stretching, like jiu-jitsu will do some warm-ups, or
Mhm.
I get a lot of flexibility training either on purpose or indirectly from other people doing that.
Mhm.
But as far as stretch, I've always had a bad habit of not stretching, just because like you said, if you don't enjoy it, you really don't do it. You see the benefit of it, but for the longest time, I'd be like, I'm porch dog fitness.
Mhm.
That dog sits on the porch when it's time to go. Or you ever see a cheetah stretch when he wakes up, but that's it. Other than that, just
Yep. Up dog, down dog.
yeah. What's up, dog?
What's up, dog? Exactly. No, I asked that because that's like everyone's assumption. Like, oh, if you're gonna de-stress, then it's oh, just do some yoga or oh, learn how to meditate. And I think that's kind of you know, it's so overused, and it's like there's a million other ways that you can de-stress, and like one way to de-stress is to find a solid eustress, right?
Yep,
Some good stress, because that's sometimes that's better than doing nothing, right?
absolutely.
So
Well, I think those are important because those work for some people.
mhm,
You may need to meditate if your distress is mental.
mhm,
If you have a hard time clearing your mind, you may need to practice on the meditative state of erasing your mind, focusing
mhm,
on something that's not that. Your mind's going 100 miles an hour. If it's, you have a manual labor job or you're at a desk where you're physically constrained, stretching may help, to alleviate those things that you have. But I agree to think you have to have a completely passive or boring way to stress relief. I don't think that's accurate. I just think that's uh, ignorance in the fact that they just don't really understand the concept or
mhm.
know possibilities or options that are there.
Yeah. So shoot, man. Any other important stories you got for us?
Oh goodness,
Any embarrassing Jace moments?
yeah. I got like I said, I have no pride. There's an old, they've already made a quote, or I guess it'd be a phrase on our department. You either ace it or jace it. Well, I was, long, long story short, we have what we call an 11-month test. So when you're in your probation for a first year, well, the 11th month you have an exam you take. Well, there was some miscommunication, at least from my perspective, on what was going to be on that test. And I had a definitive information this was going to be on the test, and there was a not so definitive that this may be on there. So I was like, I'm not going to worry about that. Turns out our one 11-month test were two 11-month tests with both subject matters. Well, I aced one and didn't ace the other one. So it was a big ordeal, and like, you got to pass your 11 months to keep your job. And they basically drilled back down and said, hey, there might have been some mistakes. We're not going to say there were, but there might have been. So we're going to allow you to retest and take that section. So I knew I was going to take it, and I didn't miss a test. Or I didn't miss a question. So I aced it. So that's when they said the old ace or jace it. So
it's a very, very important learning moment for you.
It is, especially since I'm the smart guy with some of those guys are just high school graduates, which there's nothing wrong with that. But
right.
They'll gig you. I thought you're supposed to be smart. Who told you that? I didn't.
Yeah, if it didn't come out of your mouth, then
yeah. And even if it did, I still wouldn't believe it.
Awesome. Well, Jace, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it. It was an awesome conversation, like always.
No problem.
And any quotes or words of encouragement you think it's important for everybody to hear?
Yes, I do. It's kind of one of those things. Like I said, you only got one life, live it. But there's a lot of stuff I think we get hung up on that isn't really that important. But for one reason or another, we feel that it is. And just don't wait for life-altering situations to happen before you realize that it's not important. Give people forgiveness and grace, but that's all I got. Appreciate the time. I don't know why you asked me, but glad you did. So I enjoyed watching them, and hopefully you'll have some interesting edits on this on the back end. So
no edits, man. I don't do any editing. It goes straight up on YouTube and iTunes because that's how we roll. So speaking of which, let's say somebody has a question for you. They want to reach out to you. How would they do that?
I guess
what's your Instagram? You got Twitter? You got Facebook?
I have no Facebook. My Instagram is JDaric, DARIC 83, but it's private. But it doesn't mean you can't DM me. I'm always up. I got email Jace JACE Delta Jackson at gmail.com. Jace Jackson gmail.com if you want to ask any questions, but you're the expert. But if there's any fire questions or something else or a blend between the two, I mean, I'm here to help. Always happy to help, and if I can, I will.
Sweet, awesome. Well, thanks again, and let me know next time you're down in the area and doing some tournament. I'll come out and cheer for you.
Absolutely, appreciate it, man.
Awesome. Alrighty, y'all. Thank you guys so much for watching and or listening, and stay tuned for episode 14, which will be sometime in the future. I think I'm gonna have Garson on so we can talk about his stone lifting adventures. Yeah.
If you don't watch that episode, you're wrong.
Exactly. And then I got to get Charlie on. I got to get who else? There's a couple others that I got in the tube they're guys that
I think we should. I mean, I'm just gonna float this idea out there. If you don't like it, send it right back. But maybe an on-site podcast with all of us.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Just a thought, you
I
know.
like that. I like that idea.
Brazos River, a little
Yeah.
mason jar.
Yeah. Yeah. Adam Ross is in Dallas. Maybe he'll join us.
Dr. Ross?
Dr. Ross. My bad. My bad. He's Dr. Ross.
You pay him his respects.
Shoot. Alrighty, Jace. Well, we'll talk soon. Thanks again, everybody.
Yeah.